The deprived, the deranged, the meek with a yearning for vengeance and scores to settle. Yes, it was a time for the deprived to shine and take possession of the land. It was a time for the working men who once stood behind vegetable carts enduring petty negotiations and complaints about freshness to stand tall. It was a time of epiphany for the workers who had lugged their toolboxes up marble stairs to fix tubes and leaks in grand houses, parading naked figures on expensive vases. Now these workers had discovered the benefits of gunshot. Now those sons of porters who had once run up and down stairs carrying groceries to the upper-class madam who couldn't be bothered to cover her transparent nightgown in the presence of the help, who never stopped giving orders and striding about with her bare feet on polished marble floors saying, "Leave the bag here and not there, and carry this downstairs, and tell your co-workers to bring this afternoon, and fix the..." Upon which the husband would land a tip right in the middle of the porter's palm, giving him resentment and ideas about the value of revolutionary guns. Now, in their military fatigues, how proud they look, and how dangerous they are. So why not fire at a man standing at a window above the line of death and shotguns? After all, accidents were common in the fertile presence of war. Pavlov had heard and seen it all, passing under his balcony. He knew of a young man who had shot another over a motorcycle ride. He knew of a fighter who had stepped on a landmine and miraculously trotted to safety, only to encounter another landmine. He knew of a boy who had mistaken a grenade for a toy, a stray bullet from a wedding celebration that had landed in someone's head, traffic disputes that had resulted in deaths, villagers mistaken for birds and killed by urban hunters, and other inexplicable murders of passion, greed, machismo, idiocy, sexual bravado, domestic violence, in addition to heart attacks and old age and death multiplied 1,000-fold. Perhaps this attempt on his life was a warning. Pavlov knew that his fixed gaze, his silent position, must make this pious, militaristic community, where hierarchies and heights were taken seriously, uneasy. But in fact, hardly anyone ever looked up towards him during processions. Rather, the trajectory of a mourner's gaze was almost always a sliding slope towards the ground. Since childhood, he had stood at this same window and watched, confident he was rarely noticed or seen. It dawned on Pavlov that he was acquainted with the kid who had shot at his window. He had known this kid's parents, had watched their caskets passing under his window when his own father was still alive. The kid had changed since then. He had grown rougher. The kid's father had been a mechanic, a superstitious fool who had refused to admit Pavlov's father's hearse to the garage for repairs. The mechanic had feared cars that carried the dead. The kid who had shot at Pavlov used to help his own father in the garage and would linger there, grabbing tires, rolling himself in an oval oil spot on the cement ground, his face covered in black smudges and engine grease as he moved with the slow momentum of lava flowing downhill. Yes, Pavlov remembered this kid. Once, when Pavlov was young, he'd been sent by his father to the garage with a message for the mechanic. He recalled seeing the kid who had just tried to kill him emerge, greasy, assisting his father with the tools. Pavlov had envied the son, had envied the pagan, primitive disguise that the oil from the machines bestowed on the kid's face, clothes, and hands. Ah, he had thought, to walk like a heathen with a line of grease on your face, to camouflage yourself in bright daylight before everyone's eyes, to leave your finger marks on your own forehead, to be different in your attire, careless, marked, seen and unseen, revered and mocked, your sweat turning to liquid gray lines. The alchemy of it all, to be able to fix a machine in a chaos of grease, sweat, and paint. It had hurt Pavlov back then to see the shame the kid felt as he worked away underneath the upraised cars. He looked away when he saw Pavlov and tried to erase the stains on his skin with a pitiful, grimy cloth. He had wiped his hands, Pavlov remembered, and tossed the cloth towards the toolbox. Pavlov had imagined the cloth as traveling dark matter, suspended between the kid and the smudged wall before eventually, inescapably, landing gracefully on the metal counter. But now a military uniform had wiped away all the grease, erased the sublime art of those gray traces. Perhaps the kid had joined the militia to remove the stain of his shame.